My marriage was a lot like my coffee, bitter, cold, and only worth drinking after 2 shots of whiskey. I'm Nick Grady, 38 years old, IT consultant by day, failed novelist by night, and apparently a walking target for my wife's latest social experiment. Nick, we need to talk, Julia announced, walking into our kitchen with that tone. You know the one, the same voice she used when she decided our living room needed a complete makeover, or when she volunteered me for the neighborhood cleanup committee without asking. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been debugging code for a client. What's up? She sat across from me, folding her hands like she was conducting a business meeting, which, knowing Julia, she probably was. My wife had this way of turning everything into a corporate presentation. Must be all those years climbing the ladder at Morrison and Associates, the biggest HR firm in our Rust Belt city. I've been thinking about our future, she began, and I've decided it's time you got a vasectomy. I blinked. Excuse me? I already called Dr. Peterson's office. You have an appointment next Thursday at 2:30. The audacity hit me like a slap. Not a discussion, not a request, a decision she'd made about my body, complete with scheduling. Julia, don't you think this is something we should discuss first? She waved her hand dismissively. We're discussing it now. Look, I've done the research. It's minimally invasive, covered by insurance, and frankly, we can't afford another accident like when I forgot my pills last year. Accident? You know what I mean. We're not ready for kids, Nick. My career is finally taking off, and you're still trying to figure out your writing thing. My writing thing. 3 years of working on a novel about small-town corruption, and she called it a thing. What if I said no? Julia's smile turned sharp. Why would you say no? It's your body, your choice, right? But it's also about being a responsible partner. The irony wasn't lost on me. My body, my choice, unless Julia had already made the choice for me. I closed my laptop slowly. You know what? You're absolutely right about the whole my body, my choice thing. Her smile widened. I knew you'd see reason. Which is why I'm canceling the appointment. The smile vanished. What? But you're also right about being responsible partners. So I took the liberty of booking you an appointment with Dr. Harris, that therapist you mentioned wanting to see. It's next Friday at 3, already paid for, non-refundable. Julia's face went through several interesting color changes. You did what? I figured if we're making medical decisions for each other now, I should get in on the action. You've been stressed lately, working late, going to those new fitness classes. Therapy could really help. I never said I wanted to see a therapist. Sure you did. Last month, when Brianna was talking about her sessions with Dr. Harris. You said, and I quote, maybe I should try that sometime. That was just conversation, Nick. I shrugged. Well, now it's an appointment. Funny how that works. Julia stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. This is ridiculous. Cancel it. Can't. Non-refundable, remember? Just like how you probably made my vasectomy appointment non-refundable. Her jaw tightened. Fine. I'll cancel the vasectomy myself. Actually, you can't. Only the patient can cancel medical appointments, privacy laws and all that. Being in HR, I figured you'd know that. For a moment, Julia just stared at me. Then she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Hey, where are you going? I called. Out. To think about what a petty person I married. The door slammed behind her, rattling the windows. I sat back in my chair and opened my laptop again. The code on the screen looked exactly the same, but somehow everything else had changed. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My phone buzzed with a text from Pete, my best friend and former cop turned private investigator. Beer tonight? You sound like you need it. I hadn't even called him yet. Pete had this weird sixth sense about when I was having domestic issues. Probably came from years of responding to domestic disturbance calls. How did you know? I texted back. Julia just posted on Facebook about partners who don't respect boundaries. Figured you two had another fight. Great. Our marriage problems were now social media content. Julia had this habit of venting online whenever we disagreed about something. Her posts were always vague enough to maintain plausible deniability, but specific enough that everyone knew she was talking about me. Definitely need that beer, I replied. An hour later, I was sitting across from Pete at Murphy's Tavern, our usual spot. Pete looked exactly like what you'd expect from an ex-cop turned PI. Weathered face, suspicious eyes, and the kind of build that suggested he could still handle trouble if it found him. So, let me get this straight, Pete said, nursing his beer. Julia scheduled you for surgery without asking, and you retaliated by booking her therapy? That's the short version. and now she's mad because you didn't just roll over and take it? Apparently, I'm being petty. Pete snorted. Petty would be signing her up for a colonoscopy. What you did was proportional response. Try telling her that. Nick, can I ask you something as a friend? Shoot. When's the last time Julia asked your opinion about something that affected both of you? I opened my mouth to answer, then stopped. The kitchen remodel. She'd picked everything. The vacation last summer, her choice of destination. Even our anniversary dinner. She'd made reservations without checking if I was free. It's been a while, I admitted. And when's the last time she backed down when you disagreed with her about something? That one was easier. Never. Pete nodded. So why do you think she'll back down now? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Julia. I rescheduled your therapy appointment for Monday at 10. Told Dr. Harris you've been having anger management issues. See how you like it? I showed Pete the message. He whistled low. Well, that escalated quickly. She can't just reschedule someone else's appointment, can she? Legally, no. But if she called pretending to be you or claimed to be scheduling for her husband... Pete shrugged. Happens more than you'd think. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a notification that I'd been tagged in a Facebook post. Julia had shared an article about toxic masculinity in relationships with the comment, "Some people just can't handle being asked to be responsible partners." The post already had 3 likes and 2 comments. Brianna, Julia's best friend and the neighborhood's unofficial gossip coordinator, had written, "Stay strong, girl. You deserve better." Mrs. Pallas from down the street had added, "Praying for you both during this difficult time." She's taking this public, I said, showing Pete the post. Yep, classic move. Can't win the argument at home, so she's trying to win it in the court of public opinion. What should I do? Pete grinned. Well, you could always fight fire with fire. What's Julia's biggest weakness? She hates being embarrassed in public. And what's she doing to you right now? I looked at the Facebook post again. Julia was trying to embarrass me, make me look like the unreasonable one. She was counting on me to just take it, like I always did. She's trying to embarrass me. So maybe it's time to return the favor, but smarter. I thought about it. Julia had always been better at the direct approach. Confrontation, arguments, making demands. But I was better at the technical stuff, the behind-the-scenes work. If this was going to be a war, I needed to fight it on my terms. I need to get home, I said. I have some research to do. Pete raised his beer. Good hunting. Back home, I sat down at my computer and started digging. If Julia wanted to play games with appointments and social media, I could play too. But first, I needed to understand the rules. I logged into our shared calendar and saw that Julia had indeed rescheduled the therapy appointment. But she'd also added a note in the description field. Nick needs help with anger and control issues. Please call me before the session to discuss. She was trying to control the narrative before I even got there. I opened a new browser window and started researching Dr. Harris. According to his website, he specialized in couples therapy and communication issues. His bio mentioned that he believed in collaborative approaches to relationship challenges. Perfect. I picked up my phone and called Dr. Harris's office. Hello, this is Nick Grady. My wife scheduled an appointment for me, but I think there might be some confusion about what I need help with. The receptionist was friendly but professional. What kind of confusion, Mr. Grady? Well, according to my wife, I have anger management issues. But honestly, I think our real problem is communication. She makes decisions without consulting me, and when I try to assert boundaries, she gets upset. I see. Would you like to reschedule for couples therapy instead? Actually, I think individual therapy might be good for me, but I'd prefer to speak with Dr. Harris directly about my goals for treatment, rather than having my wife set the agenda. Of course. Let me put a note in your file that you'll be discussing your own treatment goals with the doctor. After I hung up, I felt better. Julia could try to control the narrative, but she couldn't control what I said once I got in that room. My phone buzzed with another Facebook notification. Julia had posted again. Update. Made sure my husband gets the help he needs. Sometimes you have to take charge when someone won't take responsibility for their own issues. This post had 5 likes already. I scrolled through the comments. Brianna had written, "You're such a good wife for caring so much." Mrs. Pallas had added, "It's hard when men won't admit they need help." Even Sandra from Julia's work had chimed in. "Proud of you for setting boundaries." They were all talking about me like I was some kind of problem that needed to be managed, like Julia was the long-suffering wife dealing with a difficult husband. The thing was, until this morning, I would have just let it slide. I would have been embarrassed and angry, but I wouldn't have fought back. Julia was counting on that. But something had changed when she scheduled that vasectomy without asking me. It wasn't just about the procedure, it was about the assumption that my opinion didn't matter, that my body, my choices, my life were all just variables in her equation. I opened Facebook and started typing my own post. Interesting day. Learned that my body, my choice apparently doesn't apply to husbands. Also learned that some people think scheduling medical procedures for other adults without asking is taking responsibility. Good thing I believe in actual communication and mutual respect in relationships. I hesitated for a moment, then hit post. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Pete was first. Truth. My cousin Danny wrote, "Wait, what? Someone scheduled medical stuff for you without asking? That's messed up?" Even my neighbor Tom chimed in. "Been there, brother. Stand your ground." But the most interesting comment came from Sandra, Julia's coworker, the same Sandra who had just been supporting Julia in her post. Communication really is key in relationships. Both partners should have a voice. I screenshot Sandra's comment on both posts. She was supporting Julia publicly while agreeing with me privately. Interesting. My phone rang. Julia. "What the hell is this Facebook post supposed to mean?" she demanded. "Just sharing my perspective on today's events?" "You're making me look bad." "I'm telling the truth. If that makes you look bad, maybe the problem isn't with my post." "Take it down, Nick." "No." The silence stretched between us. I could practically hear Julia's brain working, trying to figure out her next move. "Fine," she said finally. "But don't come crying to me when this gets ugly." The line went quiet. She'd hung up. I stared at my phone, wondering what I'd just started. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel like backing down. The consultation war had begun? The next morning, I woke up to 17 Facebook notifications. My post had sparked a full-blown discussion thread, with people taking sides and sharing their own stories about relationship boundaries. Julia's post, meanwhile, had been deleted. I was making coffee when she walked into the kitchen, already dressed for work in her power suit. She looked like she was heading into a hostile takeover negotiation. "We need to establish some ground rules," she announced. "Good morning to you, too." "I'm serious, Nick. This social media thing ends now. Our private business stays private." I poured coffee into 2 mugs and offered her one. She ignored it. "Funny thing about privacy," I said. "It works both ways. You started the social media war yesterday, remember? That was different. I was venting to friends. And I was sharing my perspective with friends. Same thing." Julia's jaw tightened. "It's not the same thing, and you know it." "Actually, I don't know it. Explain the difference." She stared at me like I was being deliberately obtuse. "The difference is that I was asking for support during a difficult time. You were trying to make me look bad? By telling the truth? By airing our dirty laundry in public." I took a sip of coffee and studied my wife's face. She was genuinely angry, but there was something else there too, something that looked almost like panic. "Julia, can I ask you something?" "What?" "Why is it so important to you that people see you as the victim in this?" Her face flushed. "I'm not trying to be a victim. I'm trying to be heard." "Heard by who? Me? Because I'm right here? Or heard by your Facebook friends? Because that's a different conversation. You wouldn't understand. Try me." For a moment, I thought she might actually explain. But then her phone buzzed, and she glanced at it with obvious relief. "I have to go. I'm meeting Brianna for lunch, and then I have that new fitness class." "The one at Tyler's gym?" "It's called CrossFit, Nick. And yes, Tyler Brooks runs a good program." Tyler Brooks. I knew the name from Julia's increasingly frequent mentions over the past few months. Local fitness influencer, former MMA fighter, owner of Brooks Fitness downtown. According to Julia, he was revolutionizing fitness in our community. According to my observation, he was the reason Julia had started wearing yoga pants to the grocery store and checking her appearance in every reflective surface. "Have fun," I said. After Julia left, I sat down at my computer and did what any self-respecting IT consultant would do when faced with a mystery. I started researching. Tyler Brooks had a substantial online presence. Instagram account with 15,000 followers, mostly featuring shirtless workout videos and motivational quotes about pushing past your limits. His gym's website promised personalized training for serious results. What caught my attention were the client testimonials. Several mentioned late-night sessions and intensive one-on-one coaching. The photos showed Tyler working closely with female clients, hands-on spotting, lots of encouraging smiles. I scrolled through his recent Instagram posts and found something interesting. A video from 2 nights ago, tagged at 9 p.m., showing Tyler working late with dedicated clients who refused to give up on their goals. Julia had been out until almost 10 that night. Said she was at book club. My phone rang. Pete. Morning, sunshine. How's the war going? Julia deleted her Facebook post. Strategic retreat. What's her next move? I told him about the morning's conversation and my research into Tyler Brooks. Pete was quiet for a moment. Nick, you want my professional opinion? Always. Your wife is either having an affair or thinking about it. The social media stuff, the sudden interest in fitness, the defensive attitude, it's textbook. That's a pretty big leap from a vasectomy argument. Is it? Think about it. She wants you to get snipped, which eliminates the pregnancy risk. She's spending more time away from home, getting in shape, and picking fights with you. Classic pattern. I wanted to argue, but the pieces fit together too neatly to ignore. So what do I do? Depends. You want to save the marriage or win the war? Can I do both? Maybe, but first you need to know what you're actually fighting. After Pete hung up, I sat staring at my computer screen. Tyler Brooks smiled back at me from his latest Instagram post, all white teeth and sculpted abs. I made a decision. Brooks Fitness was located in a converted warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. Through the front windows, I could see people lifting weights and running on treadmills. It looked legitimate enough. I walked in and approached the front desk, where a young woman with perfectly straightened hair was typing on a laptop. Hi, I'm interested in joining, I said. Great, I'm Ashley. Are you looking for general fitness or specific training? Actually, my wife has been raving about the program here. Julia Grady, she mentioned working with Tyler directly. Ashley's smile flickered slightly. Oh, Julia. Yes, she's been making great progress with her evening sessions. Evening sessions? Tyler offers specialized coaching after regular hours for clients with demanding schedules. Very intensive, very results-focused. That sounds perfect. Is Tyler available to discuss a program? Ashley glanced toward the back of the gym. He's with a client right now, but I could schedule you for a consultation when works for you. How about this evening? I know Julia has her session tonight, so maybe I could come by afterward and we could drive home together, surprise her. Something shifted in Ashley's expression. Actually, Tyler's evening sessions are pretty focused. He prefers not to have distractions. Distractions? You know, partners, spouses. People can get self-conscious about their form when their significant other is watching. I nodded like this made perfect sense. Of course. What time do Julia's sessions usually end? It varies. Sometimes 9, sometimes later. Depends on how the workout goes. I thanked Ashley and left, but I didn't go far. I parked across the street and waited. At 7:30, Julia's car pulled into the gym parking lot. She was wearing new workout clothes I'd never seen before. Expensive-looking athletic wear that showed off the results of her recent fitness obsession. I waited another hour, then walked back to the gym. Through the front windows, I could see that the main workout area was nearly empty. The lights were dimmed, and there was no sign of Julia or Tyler. I tried the front door, locked. But there was a side entrance that led to what looked like a private training area. The door was propped open slightly, probably for ventilation. I could hear voices inside. Really think you're ready for the next level, Tyler was saying. I want to be, Julia replied. I'm tired of playing it safe. It's going to require more commitment, more time together. I know, I'm ready for that. There was a pause, then Tyler's voice again, lower now. Your husband's not going to be a problem, is he? Julia laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Nick? He's too wrapped up in his own little world to notice anything. Besides, he's been acting like a complete jerk lately. About what? Oh, just typical male ego stuff. Can't handle it when his wife makes reasonable requests. What kind of requests? I asked him to get a vasectomy. We're not ready for kids, and it makes sense, and he threw a tantrum. Started this whole passive-aggressive thing with therapy appointments and Facebook posts. Sounds like he doesn't respect your needs. Exactly. I mean, I'm not asking for anything unreasonable, just some consideration for our future. You deserve someone who puts your needs first. There was another pause, longer this time. I pressed closer to the door. Tyler. I know this is complicated, Julia, but you can't keep pretending everything's fine at home when it's clearly not. I'm not pretending anything. Aren't you? You're here with me 3 nights a week, talking about how unhappy you are, how your husband doesn't understand you. At some point, you have to decide what you really want. I'd heard enough. I walked back to my car and sat there for a while, processing what I'd just learned. Julia wasn't just having an affair, she was building a case for it. Every complaint about me, every argument we'd had, was being reframed as evidence that our marriage was doomed. Or Tyler wasn't just the other man. He was her therapist, validating her grievances and encouraging her to see me as the villain. The vasectomy demand made perfect sense now. It wasn't about family planning. It was about removing obstacles to her new relationship. My phone buzzed. A text from Julia. "Running late tonight. Don't wait up." I looked at the time. 9:15 p.m. Her car was still in the gym parking lot. I drove home and poured myself a whiskey. Then I opened my laptop and started planning. If Julia wanted to play the victim, I'd give her something to actually be victimized by. But I wasn't going to be stupid about it. No confrontations, no dramatic scenes, just information strategically deployed. I started with Tyler's social media presence. His Instagram was full of motivational posts and client success stories, but his Facebook was more personal. Photos from nights out, tagged locations, check-ins at restaurants and bars. I cross-referenced his posts with Julia's recent book club and girls' night excuses. The pattern was clear. They'd been meeting outside the gym for weeks. But the real goldmine was Tyler's business registration. As a licensed IT consultant, I had access to certain databases that most people didn't. Brooks Fitness had been cited twice in the past year for health code violations. Tyler himself had a DUI from 3 years ago and a bankruptcy filing from 2019. Julia's perfect fitness guru had some serious flaws. I was compiling a dossier when my phone rang. Julia. "Hey, just wanted to let you know I'm heading home now. Workout ran long." "How was book club?" I asked. There was a pause. "What? You said you were going to book club tonight?" "Oh, right, it was fine. We discussed the book?" "Which book?" Another pause. "The one we've been reading. Listen, I'm driving. I'll see you at home." She hung up. I looked at the clock. 10:30 p.m. If she was just leaving the gym, she'd be home in 15 minutes. I minimized my research and waited. Julia walked in at 10:45, hair slightly messed up, cheeks flushed. She was carrying her gym bag and a book, probably grabbed from the car as a prop. How was your evening?" she asked, not meeting my eyes. "Quiet. Worked on some client projects. How was the book?" She held up a romance novel I'd never seen before. "Interesting. Lots of character development." "I bet. What's it about?" It's about a woman who's feeling trapped in her life and meets someone who helps her discover what she really wants." The irony was so thick I could have cut it with a knife. "Sounds relatable," I said. Julia's eyes snapped to mine. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just sounds like the kind of book you'd enjoy." She stared at me for a moment, then headed for the stairs. "I'm going to shower and go to bed. Try not to stay up all night on that computer." After she went upstairs, I opened my laptop again. I had everything I needed to expose Julia's affair, but I wanted to be smart about it. Going nuclear would just make me look like the jealous husband. I needed something more subtle. I opened Facebook and crafted a post. Funny how life works out. Just learned some interesting things about people I thought I knew. Amazing what you can discover when you start paying attention to details instead of just taking things at face value. Sometimes the truth is hiding in plain sight. Vague enough to avoid accusations, specific enough to plant seeds of doubt. I tagged it with a location, Murphy's Tavern, to make it look like I'd been out having drinks with friends instead of conducting surveillance. Within minutes, the comments started. Pete wrote, "Truth has a way of coming out." My cousin Danny asked, "Everything okay, man?" But the most interesting response came from Sandra, Julia's coworker. "Hope you're doing well, Nick. Let me know if you need someone to talk to." I was about to close the laptop when a new notification popped up. Someone had sent me a private message. It was from Ashley, the receptionist at Brooks Fitness. "Hey, I hope this isn't weird, but I wanted to reach out after you came by today. I think you should know that Tyler has a history with married clients. Your wife seems really nice, and I'd hate to see her get hurt. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed back, "Tomorrow, Murphy's Tavern, 7 p.m. The consultation war was about to get a lot more interesting. Ashley turned out to be exactly what I'd hoped for, a disgruntled employee with a conscience and access to information. She was sitting in a corner booth at Murphy's when I arrived, nervously stirring a Diet Coke. "Thanks for meeting me," I said, sliding into the seat across from her. "I almost didn't come. This could cost me my job." "What you tell me stays between us. I just need to understand what's going on." Ashley nodded and pulled out her phone. "Tyler's done this before. 3 times that I know of. He targets married women who are unhappy or going through rough patches. Offers them special attention, late-night sessions, makes them feel special. She showed me a photo on her phone. Tyler with his arm around a blonde woman in workout clothes, both of them smiling at the camera. That's Rebecca Martinez. She was married, 2 kids, started training with Tyler last year. Husband found out about the affair, messy divorce. Tyler dumped her as soon as things got complicated. Ashley swiped to another photo. This is Michelle Chen. Same story. Tyler moved on to the next client as soon as her husband started asking questions. What happened to them? Rebecca moved away. Michelle, she had a breakdown. Tried to get Tyler to leave his girlfriend for her. He threatened to get a restraining order. Tyler has a girlfriend? Ashley's expression darkened. Lexi Morrison. They've been together for 2 years, but she travels a lot for work. Tyler plays around when she's gone, but he always goes back to her. She's got money. Her family owns half the commercial real estate downtown. This was getting better by the minute. Tyler wasn't just a serial cheater. He was a gold digger with a pattern of targeting vulnerable married women. What about Julia specifically? I asked. She started coming in about 3 months ago. At first it was just regular classes, but Tyler zeroed in on her pretty quick. Started offering private sessions, staying late to work on her form. I've seen it all before. How far has it gone? Ashley hesitated. I don't know for sure, but they've been meeting outside the gym. I've seen them at restaurants, that wine bar on 5th Street, and last week I had to clean the private training room after one of their sessions. There was... She trailed off, blushing. What? Let's just say they weren't just working out. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. It was one thing to suspect Julia was having an affair. It was another to have it confirmed by someone who'd literally cleaned up the evidence. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I like your wife. She seems like a good person who's making a bad choice. And because Tyler's a predator who ruins marriages for fun, someone needs to stop him. Ashley finished her Diet Coke and stood up. I have to go. But Nick, be careful. Tyler doesn't like it when people interfere with his games. He can get nasty. After she left, I sat in the booth for a while, processing everything I'd learned. Julia wasn't just cheating, she was being manipulated by someone who'd done this before. Part of me felt sorry for her. But a bigger part of me was angry that she'd fallen for such an obvious scam. My phone buzzed. A text from Julia. Working late tonight. Client emergency. Don't wait up. It was 8:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. Julia's company didn't have client emergencies that required evening work. She was with Tyler. I paid my tab and drove downtown, parking across from the wine bar Ashley had mentioned. Sure enough, Julia's car was in the parking lot next to a black pickup truck with Brooks Fitness decals on the side. I didn't go in. I didn't need to see them together to know what was happening. Instead, I took photos of the vehicles and drove home. Back at my computer, I started building a comprehensive file on Tyler Brooks. Business records, social media posts, court documents from his DUI and bankruptcy. I also started documenting Julia's lies, every book club and client emergency that coincided with Tyler's social media activity. The pattern was clear, but I needed more than just evidence of an affair. I needed leverage. I found it in Tyler's business license application. He'd lied about his criminal history, claiming no prior convictions when he actually had the DUI. That was a violation that could cost him his license and shut down the gym. But that was just the beginning. I dug deeper into his financial records and discovered that Brooks Fitness was behind on rent, owed money to several equipment suppliers, and had maxed out its business credit lines. Tyler's successful gym was actually on the verge of bankruptcy. Even better, I found records showing that Tyler had been skimming cash from the business. He was supposed to be paying taxes on all income, but there were clear discrepancies between reported revenue and actual deposits. The IRS would be very interested in that information. I was compiling my findings when Julia came home at 11:15 p.m., carrying Chinese takeout containers. "Thought you might be hungry," she said, setting the food on the kitchen counter. I grabbed dinner after my meeting. "Thanks. How was the client emergency?" "Stressful, but we got it sorted out. Some issue with an employee handbook revision." She was getting better at lying, adding specific details to make her stories more believable. But she'd made a mistake. The Chinese restaurant she'd bought dinner from was 2 blocks from the wine bar, nowhere near her office. "Which client?" I asked. Julia paused, a container of Lomine halfway to her mouth. "What?" "Which client had the emergency? You know, in case they call here looking for you." "Oh, it's confidential. You know how HR stuff is." "Right, confidential." We ate in silence. Julia kept checking her phone, smiling at messages she didn't share. I pretended to read news articles while actually watching her face. She looked happy in a way I hadn't seen in months, guilty but happy. After dinner, Julia went upstairs to shower. I heard the water running and made my move. Her purse was on the kitchen counter. I knew her phone passcode. She'd never bothered to change it from our anniversary date. The text thread with Tyler was right there at the top of her messages. Tyler, can't stop thinking about tonight. You're incredible. Julia, I feel the same way. I just wish things were simpler. Tyler, they can be. You just have to decide what you want more, your old life or your new one. Julia, I know, it's just complicated. Tyler, nothing worth having is easy, but I'm willing to fight for this if you are. Julia, I am. I just need more time. Tyler, take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. I took screenshots of the entire conversation, then put the phone back where I'd found it. The water was still running upstairs. I had everything I needed now. Evidence of the affair, leverage over Tyler, and a clear picture of Julia's mindset. She was planning to leave me. She just hadn't worked up the courage yet. The question was, what did I want to do about it? I could confront them directly, but that would just force Julia to make a choice she wasn't ready for. I could expose the affair publicly, but that would make me look like a vindictive husband, or I could be strategic about it, use what I knew to control the situation, make them both pay for what they'd done without looking like the bad guy. I was still thinking about my options when Julia came downstairs in her robe, hair wrapped in a towel. I'm exhausted, she said. I think I'm going to turn in early. Good idea. You've had a long day. She kissed my cheek, a perfunctory gesture that felt more like habit than affection. Don't stay up too late on that computer. After she went to bed, I opened Facebook and posted an update. Sometimes the best way to handle a problem is to be patient and let people reveal their true character. Amazing how much you can learn about someone when they think you're not paying attention. Truth always comes out eventually. Within minutes, Pete had commented, Patience is a virtue. So is timing. Sandra from Julia's office wrote, Hope everything's okay. Here if you need to talk. But the most interesting response came from someone I didn't expect. Lexi Morrison, Tyler's girlfriend. She'd liked the post. I clicked on her profile. She was indeed out of town, according to her recent posts from a business conference in Chicago. But she was friends with several people in our social circle, including Brianna, Julia's best friend. I sent Lexi a private message. Hi, I don't think we've met, but we have mutual friends. I was wondering if you might have some time to chat when you get back to town. I think we might have some common interests to discuss. It was a shot in the dark, but something told me Lexi Morrison might be very interested in what I had to say about her boyfriend's extracurricular activities. My phone buzzed with a response almost immediately. I'll be back Friday, coffee Saturday morning. I have a feeling I know what this is about. The consultation war was about to get a powerful new ally. Lexi Morrison looked exactly like what you'd expect from someone whose family owned half the commercial real estate in town, polished, confident, and expensive. She was waiting at the coffee shop when I arrived Saturday morning, scrolling through her phone with perfectly manicured nails. Nick Grady? She asked as I approached her table. That's me. Thanks for meeting with me. She gestured to the chair across from her. I have to admit, I'm curious about what you want to discuss. Your Facebook posts have been interesting lately. I sat down and studied her face. Lexi was beautiful in an intimidating way, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that suggested she didn't suffer fools gladly. This was not a woman who would take betrayal lightly. How much do you know about your boyfriend's business practices? I asked. Which practices are we talking about? The financial irregularities or the married women? Her directness caught me off guard. You know. I know Tyler thinks I'm an idiot who doesn't pay attention when I'm traveling. I know he's been skimming money from the gym to pay for his little romantic adventures. And I know he's currently working his way through another unhappy housewife. Then why haven't you done anything about it? Lexi smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. Who says I haven't? I've been documenting everything for months. Tyler's about to learn that cheating on someone with a law degree and family connections was a very bad idea. So why meet with me? Because your wife seems different from the others. Tyler's actually invested in this one. He's talking about leaving me, starting fresh with someone who understands him better. She made air quotes around the last part. I thought you might want to prevent that as much as I do. What did you have in mind? Lexi pulled out her phone and showed me a photo of Tyler and Julia at a restaurant, holding hands across the table. I took this last night. They think they're being discreet, but they're not exactly subtle. You followed them? I hired someone to follow them. I'm not doing my own surveillance work. She scrolled to another photo. This is from Wednesday night at the wine bar, and this is from last weekend at the Marriott downtown. The hotel photo made my stomach clench. They'd moved beyond just meeting for drinks. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Information. You know Julia better than anyone. What's her weakness? What would make her back off?" I thought about it. Public embarrassment. Julia hates looking bad in front of people. She's very image conscious. And Tyler's weakness is his business. He's leveraged everything on the gym's success. If that fails, he loses everything. So we attack on both fronts? Exactly. But carefully. We don't want to look like the vindictive exes. We want to look like the victims who discovered the truth and handled it with class. Lexi was clearly the brains of this operation. I was starting to understand how her family had acquired so much real estate. "What's your timeline?" I asked. "Tyler thinks I don't know about Julia, so he's planning to break up with me next week. Wants to clear the deck for his new relationship. I'd prefer to beat him to the punch. And Julia's been dropping hints about us having problems. I think she's working up to asking for a separation." "Perfect. So we have maybe a week to destroy both of them before they make their moves." The cold calculation in Lexi's voice should have bothered me, but instead I found it reassuring. This wasn't about emotion or revenge. It was about strategy. "What's the plan?" I asked. Lexi smiled, and this time it was genuinely pleased. Phase 1. We make their affair public, but in a way that makes us look sympathetic. Phase 2. We destroy Tyler's business using completely legal methods. Phase 3. We sit back and watch them blame each other for the mess. How do we make the affair public without looking vindictive? Leave that to me. I have some ideas. We spent the next hour planning. Lexi had resources I couldn't have imagined, private investigators, connections in city government, and a network of influential friends who could spread information quickly and efficiently. By the time we parted ways, I felt like I'd just enlisted in a very sophisticated army. That afternoon, Julia was getting ready for another book club meeting when I decided to test the waters. "You know, I've been thinking about what you said the other day," I said, watching her apply lipstick in the bathroom mirror. "Which part?" "About us needing to make some changes. Maybe you're right. Maybe we should consider couples therapy." Julia's hand froze halfway to her lips. "Therapy? You've been saying we have communication issues. Maybe a professional could help us figure out what's going wrong." That's not really what I meant." "What did you mean?" She turned to face me, and I could see the guilt written all over her face. "I meant maybe we need to think about whether this marriage is working for either of us." There it was, the opening she'd been building toward for months. "Are you saying you want a separation?" I asked. "I'm saying maybe we should consider all our options." "Including divorce?" Julia's shoulders sagged slightly. "I don't know, Nick. I just know I'm not happy, and I don't think you are either." "What would make you happy?" "I don't know that either. I just know it's not this." She gestured vaguely at our bathroom, our house, our life together. Everything we'd built over 8 years of marriage was just this to her now. "Well," I said carefully, "if that's how you feel, maybe we should start talking about logistics." "Logistics?" "Dividing assets, living arrangements, that kind of thing. If we're going to separate, we should do it properly." Julia looked surprised. "You're not going to fight me on this?" "What would be the point? If you're unhappy, you're unhappy. I can't force you to want to be married to me." For a moment, she looked almost disappointed, like she'd been expecting me to beg her to stay, to fight for our marriage. Instead, I was being reasonable and practical. Okay, maybe we should think about it for a few more days before we make any decisions." "Sure. Take all the time you need." After Julia left for her book club, I called Lexi. "She's ready to ask for a separation," I reported, "but she wants a few more days to work up the courage." "Perfect. Tyler's been pushing her to leave you, so she's probably getting pressure from both sides. How did she react when you didn't fight her on it?" "She seemed surprised. Maybe a little disappointed." "Good. Let her stew on that. Meanwhile, I'm putting Phase 1 into motion tomorrow." "What's Phase 1 again?" "You'll see. Just make sure you're available to play the supportive husband when it happens." Monday morning, I was at my computer when my phone started buzzing with notifications. Facebook, Instagram, text messages, all coming in rapid succession. I opened Facebook first. Lexi had posted a long, heartfelt message. Sometimes life forces you to confront painful truths. I recently discovered that someone I trusted has been living a double life, carrying on an affair while pretending to love me. I'm sharing this not for sympathy, but because I believe the other people involved deserve to know the truth. To Julia Grady. I'm sorry you're finding out this way, but your husband deserves better than lies. To Tyler Brooks. I hope she was worth destroying 2 relationships. The post included photos, Tyler and Julia at the restaurant, at the wine bar, entering the hotel together. Professional quality surveillance shots that left no room for doubt. The comments were already pouring in. People expressing sympathy for Lexi, shock at the affair, and anger at Tyler and Julia. Several of Julia's coworkers had commented, including Sandra. "Oh my God, Julia, I had no idea." Mrs. Pallas from our neighborhood had written, "Poor Nick, he seemed so happy." Brianna, Julia's best friend, had posted, "I can't believe this. Julia, call me." My phone rang. Julia. "Nick, I can explain." "You don't need to explain anything to me," I said calmly. "Lexi's post makes everything pretty clear. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you've been having an affair with Tyler Brooks for months while lying to me about book clubs and client emergencies." Silence. "Julia, are you there?" "I'm coming home. We need to talk." "Okay, I'll be here." I hung up and refreshed Facebook. Lexi's post now had over 100 comments and had been shared dozens of times. Julia's affair was officially public knowledge. My phone buzzed with a text from Pete. "Holy crap, man. You okay?" I texted back, "Better than expected. Thanks for asking." Sandra from Julia's office sent a private message. "Nick, I'm so sorry. If you need anything, let me know." Even my cousin Danny had reached out. "Saw the Facebook thing. Want me to come over?" I was responding to messages when Julia's car pulled into the driveway. She sat in the driver's seat for a long moment before getting out, like she was gathering courage for what came next. When she walked into the house, her eyes were red and her makeup was smudged. She looked like she'd been crying. "Nick, I'm sorry," she said immediately. "I never wanted you to find out like this." "How did you want me to find out?" "I was going to tell you. I just needed more time to figure out how." "Time to figure out how to tell me you were leaving me for another man?" Julia flinched. "It's not that simple." "It seems pretty simple to me. You met someone else, started an affair, and now you want out of our marriage. What's complicated about that?" "I didn't plan for this to happen. But it did happen, and you kept it happening for months." Julia sat down heavily on the couch. "I know how it looks, but Tyler and I, it's not just about attraction. He understands me in a way you never have." "Understands what about you?" "My dreams, my ambitions. He thinks I'm capable of more than just being someone's wife." "I never said you were just my wife." "You didn't have to say it. It was in everything you did, every assumption you made about our future. The vasectomy thing was just the last straw." "So this is my fault?" "It's both our faults. We've been drifting apart for years. Tyler just helped me realize that I deserve better." The irony was incredible. Tyler, a serial cheater who was using Julia the same way he'd used multiple other women, had convinced her that she deserved better than a faithful husband. "What do you want to do now?" I asked. "I want to separate. I think we both need space to figure out what we really want." "And Tyler? Are you planning to be with him during this separation?" Julia's face flushed. "My relationship with Tyler is separate from our marriage problems." "Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like your relationship with Tyler is the cause of our marriage problems." "You're oversimplifying things." "Am I? Let me ask you something, Julia. If Tyler disappeared tomorrow, would you still want a separation?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know." "That's what I thought." My phone buzzed with another Facebook notification. The story was spreading beyond our immediate social circle. Someone had shared Lexi's post in a local community group, and people were commenting who didn't even know us personally. Julia saw me check my phone and winced. "This is going to be everywhere, isn't it?" "Probably. My job, my reputation, everything's ruined." For the first time since this whole thing started, I felt a flicker of sympathy for her. Julia had made terrible choices, but she was about to pay a price that seemed disproportionate to her crimes. "Maybe not," I said. "People have short memories. This will blow over eventually." "Will it? Or will I always be the woman who cheated on her husband with the local gym owner?" "I don't know, Julia. That depends on what you do next." She looked at me with something that might have been hope. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you have choices to make. You can double down on this thing with Tyler and see where it goes. Or you can recognize that you made a mistake and try to fix it." "Are you saying you'd consider working things out?" I looked at my wife, really looked at her, and tried to figure out what I felt. Anger, yes. Hurt, definitely. But also something like pity. Julia had been manipulated by an expert, convinced that her marriage was the problem when the real problem was her own dissatisfaction with herself. "I'm saying I think you should figure out what you really want before you make any permanent decisions. And I think you should do it without Tyler's input." Julia nodded slowly. You're right. I need to think. Take all the time you need, but Julia? Yeah? While you're thinking, you should probably know that Tyler has done this before, multiple times. You're not special to him. You're just the latest in a pattern. Her face went pale. What are you talking about? I told her about my conversation with Ashley, about Tyler's history with married clients, about Lexi's investigation. By the time I finished, Julia looked like she was going to be sick. He told me I was different, she whispered. He said he'd never felt this way about anyone before. I'm sure he did. I'm also sure he said the same thing to Rebecca Martinez and Michelle Chen. Julia buried her face in her hands. Oh God, what have I done? For the first time in months, my wife looked like someone I recognized. Not the confident, dissatisfied woman who'd been picking fights and making demands, but the person I'd married, vulnerable, confused, and in need of support. You made a mistake, I said. A big one, but it's not the end of the world. Isn't it? Everyone knows. Everyone's talking about it. Let them talk. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Julia looked up at me, mascara streaked down her cheeks. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Lexi. Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2? I looked at Julia, broken and ashamed on our couch, and made a decision. I texted back, hold off on Phase 2. I think Phase 1 might be enough. The consultation war was far from over, but maybe it didn't have to end with total destruction after all. The next morning brought consequences neither Julia nor I had fully anticipated. Julia's phone had been buzzing nonstop since dawn, calls from friends, family, and coworkers who'd seen Lexi's Facebook post. She'd turned it off around 6 a.m. and hadn't turned it back on since. I was making coffee when she came downstairs, looking like she hadn't slept at all. I called in sick to work, she said quietly. I can't face everyone yet. That's probably smart. Give people time to process before you have to deal with them directly. Julia poured herself coffee with shaking hands. My mom called the house phone at 5:30 this morning. Someone in her bridge club saw the post and told her. What did you tell her? The truth, that I messed up and I don't know how to fix it. We sat in silence for a while, drinking coffee and avoiding eye contact. It was the most peaceful morning we'd had in months, which was ironic considering our marriage had just been exposed as a fraud on social media. Nick, Julia said eventually, can I ask you something? Sure. How long have you known? About Tyler? A couple of weeks. I started getting suspicious when you began working late so often and going to all those fitness classes. Why didn't you confront me? I thought about how to answer that honestly. At first I wasn't sure. Then, when I was sure, I wanted to understand what was really happening before I said anything. And what did you decide was really happening? I decided that you were unhappy with your life, and Tyler convinced you that I was the reason why. Julia's eyes filled with tears. He did say that. He said I was too good for you, that you were holding me back from my potential. And you believed him? I wanted to believe him. It was easier than admitting that maybe the problem wasn't you, maybe it was me. This was the most honest conversation we'd had in years. Julia was finally dropping the defensive attitude and the victim narrative she'd been building. What do you mean? I asked. I mean, I've been unhappy for a long time, but I didn't want to admit that it wasn't anyone's fault. Not yours, not mine. Just life, marriage, getting older and realizing that this is it. This is what adult life looks like. So you decided to blow it up instead of dealing with it? I guess I did. Tyler made it seem like the answer was simple. Leave my boring life and start over with someone exciting. And now? Julia laughed bitterly. Now I realized that Tyler was never going to leave Lexi for me. He was just having fun while she was out of town, and I threw away 8 years of marriage for someone who saw me as a temporary distraction. My phone buzzed. A text from Pete. Saw the Facebook drama. You need backup? I showed Julia the message. People are worried about me. They should be worried about you. I put you through hell for months, and you never deserved any of it. We both made mistakes, Julia. No, Nick. I made mistakes. You just reacted to them. Before I could respond, there was a knock at the front door. We looked at each other nervously. Are you expecting anyone? Julia asked. No. I went to the window and peered out. Tyler's black pickup truck was parked in our driveway, and Tyler himself was standing on our front porch, looking agitated. It's Tyler, I said. Julia's face went white. What does he want? I guess we're about to find out. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. Tyler looked like he'd had about as much sleep as Julia. His usually perfect hair was messy, and his gym clothes were wrinkled. I need to talk to Julia, he said without preamble. She's not available right now. This is important. Lexi's trying to destroy my business. She's filing complaints with the city, calling my suppliers, spreading lies about me. Are they lies? Tyler's jaw tightened. That's not the point. The point is that Julia and I need to figure out how to handle this together. Together? We're in this together now. What affects me affects her. I almost laughed. Even now, Tyler was trying to manipulate the situation, making Julia feel responsible for his problems. Actually, I said, I think Julia's done being in anything with you. Let her speak for herself. Julia appeared behind me, and Tyler's expression immediately softened into the charming smile I'd seen him use in his Instagram videos. Julia, baby, we need to talk. This whole thing with Lexi. Don't call me baby, Julia interrupted. And no, we don't need to talk. Tyler looked genuinely surprised. What's wrong? I know this is messy, but we can get through it. Can we? Because I just found out that I'm not the first married woman you've done this with. Who told you that? Does it matter? Is it true? Tyler's pause was answer enough. It's not what you think, he said finally. Those other women, they were different. What we have is real. Is it? Because yesterday you were telling me that you were going to leave Lexi for me, but according to her Facebook post, you've been lying to both of us for months. Lexi's crazy. She's making things up because she's jealous. Is she making up the photos of us together? The hotel receipts? The text messages? Tyler's confident facade was starting to crack. Julia, you're letting other people poison your mind against me. What matters is what we feel for each other. What I feel, Julia said quietly, is stupid and used and ashamed. Don't say that. You're not stupid. You're brave enough to go after what you want. What I want is for you to leave and don't come back. Tyler looked between Julia and me, his expression shifting from charming to calculating to angry. Fine, he said, but don't come crying to me when you realize what you're giving up, and don't expect me to be available when your marriage falls apart anyway. He turned and walked back to his truck, but not before giving me a look that was pure hostility. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, it is, I replied, and closed the door. Julia was leaning against the wall, looking drained. I can't believe I fell for his act, she said. He's good at what he does. He's had practice. How could I have been so blind? Because you wanted to believe him. He told you what you wanted to hear. Julia slumped onto the couch. So what happens now? Now you decide what you want your life to look like going forward. What if I want it to look like it did before I messed everything up? I sat down next to her, careful to maintain some distance. It can't look exactly like it did before. Too much has happened. But maybe it can look like something better. Better how? More honest, more intentional, less taking each other for granted. Julia was quiet for a long moment. Do you think you could ever forgive me? I think I already have. The question is whether you can forgive yourself. I don't know. I hurt you. I hurt us. I humiliated myself publicly. I don't know how to come back from that. One day at a time, one choice at a time. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Lexi. Tyler just left your house looking angry. Everything okay? I texted back. All good. Julia ended it with him. Good. He's about to have bigger problems anyway. The city inspector found some interesting violations at his gym. I showed Julia the message. She read it and shook her head. I feel sorry for him, she said. Really? Not sorry enough to help him, but sorry. He's about to lose everything, and for what? A few months of playing around behind his girlfriend's back? He made his choices, just like you made yours. And now we all have to live with the consequences. That's how it works. Julia turned to look at me directly for the first time all morning. Nick, I know I don't deserve to ask this, but do you think we could try again? Not go back to the way things were, but start over and try to build something better? I studied her face, looking for signs of the manipulation and self-justification that had characterized our interactions for months. Instead, I saw something I hadn't seen in a long time, genuine remorse and vulnerability. I think we could try, I said, but it's going to take time and work, and probably actual therapy, not just scheduling it as a passive-aggressive gesture. Julia laughed despite herself. I can't believe that's how this whole thing started. The consultation war. Is that what you're calling it? Pete came up with that name. It fits. We were both trying to control each other instead of just talking about what we actually wanted. So what do you actually want, Julia? She thought about it seriously. I want to feel like my life matters, Like I'm building something worthwhile instead of just going through the motions. And you thought Tyler was the answer to that? I thought Tyler was an escape from that. But escape isn't the same as solution. No, it's not. Julia reached over and took my hand tentatively. I didn't pull away. I want to try to fix this, she said. Not just our marriage, but me. I want to figure out why I was so willing to throw away something good for something that was obviously too good to be true. That sounds like a good place to start. We sat there holding hands on our couch, surrounded by the wreckage of the life we'd built together, and for the first time in months, I felt hopeful. My phone buzzed one more time. Another text from Lexi. Tyler's gym just got shut down for health code violations. Thought you should know. I showed Julia the message. She winced. I should probably warn him, she said. Why? Because despite everything, I don't want to see him lose everything. Julia, Tyler made his own choices. He's been running a questionable business, cheating on his girlfriend and manipulating married women for who knows how long. This isn't happening to him because of you. It's happening because of him. She nodded slowly. You're right. I feel responsible. For his business problems? For his pattern of affairs? For Lexi's decision to expose him? When you put it like that, Tyler's consequences are Tyler's responsibility, just like our consequences are our responsibility. Julia squeezed my hand. So what are our consequences? We get to decide that. We can let this destroy us, or we can use it as a wake-up call to build something better. I vote for building something better. Me too. Outside, Tyler's truck was gone. Inside, Julia and I sat together planning our next steps, real therapy, honest conversations, and the hard work of rebuilding trust. The consultation war was over. The real work was just beginning. But for the first time in months, we were on the same side.